Many years ago, when I started my media multi business with my brother Tony, who was here, but he probably is currently being massaged because he's got a back injury. No doubt half caused by all the work he's been doing constructing a new media vault. We started our business and we had quite a big, we had 1,000 square feet of media vault, very empty. And Tony and I said to each other, this is a real problem. And it looked very bare, and we actually had, as you do, a lot of filler tapes, and we had tapes for destruction, mounts and racks. We spread them right out to make it look full. And we said then, won't it be nice when this is full? And 6 years later, we now have that problem. We have a full media vault, and we have this nice problem. And we're in the process now of actually going through the construction phase of our new facility. So my presentation today is just to show you what we're doing. I suppose I make no apologies for our design and construction, because this is what we believe is going to win us business in the market in Sydney. There's everyone has their own opinion on various construction techniques. This just happens to be ours. So as I go through the presentation, please ask questions and we'll work through it. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so just briefly, I'll just go through what our current problem is in our vault and what caused the problem, and I've got a few pictures to show you what our current vault looks like, and we'll soon see that it's looking pretty crowded. I'll give you a quick rundown on the company and what we're doing, and then in some detail on what we're doing to fix the problem, and looking at location, construction, risk assessment of the facility, and then I've got just a few points to raise with the lessons we've learned. Well, 9 years ago, Tony and I had this great idea to get into the media vaulting business. I'd worked in IT for 25 years as a customer, and so I've seen media vaulting from the customer side, and had this great idea that I could do better than the current vendors that were servicing the Sydney market. So 9 years ago, we formed a company, and then it took us another 4 years to build a vault and get financing. So we actually started seriously 6 years ago. We currently have 450 customers, and this will be an interesting scenario for you, for the US people here, that the Sydney market is obviously a lot smaller than the general US cities. We've got a 4 million population in Sydney. And so from that, we've got 450 customers, 150,000 tapes under management. We definitely encourage slot management. We believe that's the correct way to store tapes, and we actively encourage all our customers to store in slots versus boxes. Obviously, there's certain customers for security reasons want to store in boxes and tag them and things like that. We have 7 vehicles. We're doing about 140 deliveries per day. As I said, we have 1,000 square feet. And our growth is, we start 1 customer per week on average, and last year we grew at 18%. From a metric point of view, we did a quick calculation on the plane over here, Gerard and I, and we came to $33 per tape per annum, on the basis of the number of tapes we have in storage versus our annual revenue. And I don't know.
Australian or US?
No, that's Australian, sorry. So that's about $25 US. Now,
not that you can convert it, because a Big Mac in Australian dollars costs as much as a Big Mac in US dollars. So
this is a metric we just really just decided on our 14-hour plane flight. It might be a good thing to talk about, but I've never heard anyone actually do this, but you can all do your own calculations in your head and see what your own volt is doing. What is the problem? We actually don't have a major problem with our volt space. Volt capacity can be fixed quite easily, and we have been doing that over the last 12 months by installing GenTrack racking. So traditionally we have a lot of open, what we call the IBM open racking for swap storage, which does take up quite a bit of floor space. And we've got some compactor systems, and so we've been fixing the volt capacity problem by throwing up the old rack and putting in GenTrack, and that has worked quite successfully, and we'll continue to do that. And so that's worked quite well. Mind you, we haven't got not a lot of space for the future, but we're managing it. The real problem we have is all the ancillary space. Like we have 7 delivery runs a day. So when the guys are picking the tapes and they've got the delivery runs ready to go at the door, those delivery runs are literally scattered all over the vault because our processing area is full. The desk area where the guys do the processing, we have up to 4 people picking tapes at one time. So there's 4 people, and each got a computer with all the stuff they need, barcode scanners. That's all very crowded. The office space, the administration area, there's 4 people in this tiny little office, all crammed in. The 2 sales guys work out of the kitchen. It's just ridiculous. So it's been the growth of not just the vault, but it's the whole business that we've really been struggling with. I think I've covered all those things. Vault workflow is a definite problem. It's something that I've been fairly concerned about, mainly, I suppose, from my background working in IT, especially in data centres, you become very process-driven. And so that's been my life. And the vault now is possibly quite dangerous in that, because it's so crowded, some people are working here and some over there is definitely the potential for error in the current environment. So that's a real concern too.
So you're moving from the open rack to GenTrack. How's that affecting having multiple people picking?
No, it's a good question, and it's a concern that my brother Tony, who looks after the operations area, has. That picking from a GenTrack is definitely slower than picking out of an open rack, definitely. And we only have 8 GenTracks all in one row. So you have the problem that when we have 4 people picking at once, so you get a problem. Some guys in the GenTracks and other guys waiting to go in. We do have access at both ends of the GenTrack, but we've only got 8 of them. In the new vault, we definitely will not put those 8 together. We'll have 2 groups of 4, so to allow more access. There's a trade-off with the GenTracks, definitely. We have tried to put our larger customers in there, and we have done that. So when a guy's picking tapes, he's picking a couple of hundred tapes. So he's in there for a while versus people going in for 50 or less than that. So archive and large customers go to GenTrack. This is just some of the problem areas. That is actually, that's really our stock. There's the bins that go into there. These are the storage boxes we use, which they're our design. I haven't seen those before, but they're polycarbonate plastic boxes with foam, high density foam inside, and they hold 40 mainframe cartridges. in a 20 inch bin. And yeah, that's the corridor leading into the sales area / kitchen, and that's the view in the gents' toilets. So there's stuff everywhere. It gets worse. These are the delivery runs. There's sort of one there. Traditionally, that was the processing area along the back there, but there's probably 3 delivery runs there. There's one here, there's another one up there, another one there. They're literally all over the place, which is, it's dangerous, but people are going to make mistakes. Yeah, there's empty boxes here. Yeah, you can see the style of racking we've been using. You can't see the gem tracks here, but it's just this open racking. There's a compactus unit down there with boxes in it. There's sort of the EDP/IBM racks. There's another compactus there. So there's, we've used different things over the years.
Brad, you might also want to point out the fact that you use satchels as well for small deliveries, which is something I haven't seen done in the US.
Well, there's some, you can see them, go back.
Well, you can see it actually did, Brad, on the bottom.
Yeah, these satchels, they're padded satchels, so they protect the tapes. They've got a zipper in the top, and you can put a security tag or padlock on the end to seal them securely. They've got a plastic sleeve on the front where we slide our delivery slips into, and they hold about 6 LTOs, maybe 7 LTOs. They work quite well. We got those we discovered them in the banking industry. I think the banking industry used them for transporting cash. So that's where we discovered those.
So how many tapes maximum will a satchel hold?
I think it's about 6 or 7 LTOs.
So it's
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. That way, but they obviously expand out as you put the tapes in.
Yes.
We have a lot of small customers. We have 450 customers. So we have a lot of customers who do a delivery of 2 or 3 tapes a day. And then the other ones go in the boxes. And we've actually just started making half-size boxes that hold 20 tapes. But they work for us. More storage problems. We even have a records management problem. That's all our historical paper records, which we have in a fireproof room. We need someone to store our paper records. We did start scanning. When we first started the business, we had this great idea of let's be totally electronic. And for the first 5 or 6 customers, we scanned our services agreement and the contractual things, and that's really good. And it lasted 10 customers. It just
Forgot the bag.
and Dre was talking to me a few months ago about this, saying yes, let's go and buy a scanner and let's start scanning everything, because we generate paper during the day, just the delivery slips and people's signatures. We should scan those and do the workflow of would it be worthwhile, and decided it wouldn't. It's quicker to store paper than scan documents.
I got a quick question. Just to go back to those bags, those satchels. When you rotate tapes, do you just put the new tapes that are coming in into the bag and take the bag back, or does the customer have a bag, or
Yes.
swap bags?
The customer has an empty bag. Yeah, so he's loading the tapes into his satchel, and we're delivering the oldest tapes back. So we just do an exchange of satchels. We don't actually take the tapes out at the
Do
customer.
you sell the customer the bag?
No, we supply them. That's also a unique Australian thing. That I believe in the US, you guys actually rent boxes to the customer in most cases.
Yes.
People are nodding.
Or sell.
Or sell them. For some crazy reason in Australia that we give it to them for nothing. That's what the market. I think we do. We do get a higher storage price per tape.
Does anyone in your market use the cases, like the turtles or whatever?
Generally not. Turtle cases are about $70 Australian, where these cases cost about 30, and we're not charging the customer for them. Yeah.
Those blue cases that you just had, sometimes you actually deliver out using those also?
Yeah, that's what we use.
Okay.
That's our delivery case.
For large customers.
So the satchels go inside.
No,
Satchel in
so
that.
satchels for small customers, and bigger customers use boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some customers do want turtle cases, and it's very rare. There's only a few of them.
Is there anyone that manufactures a turtle or similar to it in Australia?
No, you have to import them.
Well, it's a lot of freight. I mean, I looked at sending a pallet to Sydney, and it was $12, $13 a case.
How much? Well, tell me, give me a price. How much does a Gen Track cost you guys in the US? Just a one Gen Track LTO, what's like, roughly?
Yeah, it varies used or new. I mean, they probably
A
don't
new one.
have used.
A new one.
A new one, a new Gen Track.
5,000.
Everybody wants to say.
5,000. just to talk the price difference, they're 15,000 Australian dollars, one Gen Track, and that's about probably 12,000 US. So it's freight to get. It took us 14 hours to fly here. Well, in fact, 22 hours by the time we got here.
Yeah.
Food quantities.
And that's on a boat where it takes a couple of months to get out here. That's the cheap freight. Okay, fixing the problem. So the first thing we very quickly did, because this building is actually bursting at the seams, we ruled out very quickly building another floor, moving next door. It just has some fundamental problems that we need to get out of there. One of the main things we don't have is a loading dock that is undercover. So we load our vehicles in the open, which, we've lost business because of that. I don't think it's a huge security problem. No one knows where we are. We work on the principle that our facilities are unmarked, unlabelled, we don't advertise them, no one knows where we are. People who do visit us sign a non-disclosure agreement. There's never been any security issues, but from a marketing point of view, yes, definitely enclose the loading and unloading dock is the way to go.
Which is primarily due to the fact that one of the competitors have a loading dock, and that's their main selling style. So you can normally tell when a customer comes through the vault, and as soon as they walk in the door and they say, "Let's see the loading dock," you know where they've been.
Yes, you always get that, yes. Bit of subtle pointing out what benefits the opposition have or not. So we obviously had, to solve the problem, you have a real problem, which is physical security, risk assessment. What Tony and I like to say is it's the comfort factor that we can sleep at night. Because at the end of the day, if we have a problem with loss of tapes and customers get really upset, they're going to sue me at the end of the day. And many of us have this problem.
It's like America.
Oh yes, Australia's just as bad. They're getting a lot of litigation. So we're the ones we must protect here. Then the customers come after that. And luckily we have very high standards, so the customers are doing quite well with us. The other problem we had, or the other main issue, was location. We offer a 1-hour service level. So from when a customer calls their tapes back, we have them there in 1 hour, anywhere in Sydney, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the location of the vault was very important to us from a logistics point of view of getting from A to B throughout Sydney. And 4 million people in Sydney, the traffic is I don't think it's as bad as Houston, but it's bad at times. Risk assessment. During my days working in IT, I did a lot of work in data centre construction. And the most recent one I did was I worked for an insurance company, and I built a data centre and had the services of their risk assessor to help in the physical construction. And he was very useful in imparting lots of information on risk assessment, which I've used that in business to protect the business. And that's been very, very important. I have a wish list of requirements. This is actually the exact document that I sent out to the real estate agents in trying to explain to them what I wanted. And it is a very, very long list. And I must admit that the majority of real estate agents sort of listened, just went, forget it, it just doesn't exist. And in fact, the building we eventually found, I found myself. So I suppose one of the recommendations, which I didn't think I put on my list, is that don't rely on a real estate agent to find a building for you. I did lots of driving around the areas that I wanted to locate in, and I found it myself.
What was its use for, or what was it being?
That's a very, very good question. It was used by a federal government department called ASIO, which is basically like the CIA or FBI. They're the spooks in Australia.
It'd be the equivalent of the FBI.
FBI, yeah, CIA's external, FBI's internal. Yeah, so internal surveillance, espionage, it was all very scary what they were doing.
And it's a suburb away from where all the Arabs live. So it's
in quite a good location.
I want to throw something out.
Yes.
In Nashville, when we were in a bank vault, we are literally in a bank vault that the bank closed. And it's 3,000 square feet, 20,000 pound door.
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing. Now, we converted it to media with FM 200 and the whole thing. But if you look in your area, in your city, I bet your money you're going to find a bank that's closed and they have a vault and they have no use for it. It's always going to be on the bottom floor. It's always going to have a place where you can have confidential access to it. You can back a van in there to it. The second thing that you can look for is another building that we found on the market. We just couldn't afford it at the time. It was the bank processing center for money. I mean, Federal Reserve Processing Center. And they only wanted $450,000. They had steel doors everywhere. And it was a fortress. But they couldn't do anything with it because it had so much concrete in it. And they couldn't sell it. But it was out of the way. So, I mean, be inventive and look around. You're going to find something that other people don't want. And it might feature your needs very well.
The building we're in at the moment was an ex-bank building. That was our original site. And yeah, it was great. It had good infrastructure. For example, one of the things we discovered in our current site when we were knocking down walls, there was gyprock, but it's the dry, what do you call it? Drywall. A drywall, and as the builder was knocking it down, he discovered a plate of 5mm steel in the middle of the drywall, and that was courtesy of the bank that we were in, and that was just an added bonus to have that in the wall. And there were a multitude of other things we discovered that we didn't know we were getting after we moved into the bank. It was very good. And in Australia, the banks are shutting down their retail outlets all the time too, so there are a lot available.
The trade-off you have to look for is material handling, and that's exactly what you run into.
Yes.
It's material handling over time can become a problem if you can't expand and move things around.
Yes. So just to quickly run through that, I gave the description of basically what I was looking for, and I wasn't being too specific, but I said the building used a house computer software, tried to enforce, this was very important to my customers, and that physical security was what I was looking for, with no adjacent risks. I think that's the thing that people don't often look into. You've really got to look at not just the building, but who's next door, and then who's outside that, and go around quite a large area, make sure there's nothing, like an oil refinery or a gas station or things like that. Timber yard. One of our competitors had a timber yard above them. And then because I basically knew where I wanted to be, I then detailed various suburbs that I wanted the real estate agent to look in. And anyone who's dealt with real estate agents know that it's an open check to ignore that totally and to go anywhere in Sydney and offer you all sorts of things. In fact, one of the real estate agents, when he did ignore that, he showed me a building which was an American Express, an old American Express check processing and check storage area, which was actually a very, very nice building. It just happened to be in totally the wrong area to satisfy our 1 hour response that we must have for all our customers. So, unfortunately, it's the wrong location. The most important thing was freestanding building. And this gets back from just the working risk assessment years ago, that you must be in control of your own destiny. You cannot have anyone above you, you can't have anyone adjoining you, and you need to be freestanding because you can't control all those other things, or people above you. So freestanding building. So that ruled out the majority of options which, and it's probably happening here, but in Sydney they're building industrial estates where they have a unit, and they all adjoin. And that's okay when you're on the end one. You still have one wall where you're adjoining a tenant which, they could be making fireworks, but you've got no control over who your neighbours are. So we definitely wanted a freestanding building with as much airspace around the building as possible. Had to be single tenant. We wanted to be the only one in that building. We specified the industry. It had to be light industry, commercial, residential. It must be a clean area. We didn't want a manufacturing next to us. It must look professional. And this gets down to, again, the marketing versus reality. I want our customers to walk up to the building and go, yes, that is a good building. And just give you that big tick of satisfaction from that customer when they look at it from the outside. That's extremely important. And that probably sells. That's probably 90% of the sales process. I wanted a concrete roof above my vault. I wanted to be literally a vault made out of concrete. And that was quite difficult to find, because then that meant that we had a certain vault capacity we wanted. That then meant that we had a roof over the top, which the first floor was as big as the vault, but I didn't have enough staff to fill, I didn't have enough office staff to fill the top floor. So you're paying for wasted space in the office component. But that's the price you pay. I'll just run through this quickly. Structurally very sound, brick construction, concrete roof, low exposure to main roads, flight paths, railways, flooding, lightning strikes. It's all very difficult to find in these places. In Sydney at the moment, the flight paths are all over the place. There's new technologies coming in with planes landing, and these days they can sort of slide into the runways, and they don't generally come in 20 miles straight in. So there's planes flying all over Sydney at the moment, so it's very difficult to get placed not under a flight path. Obviously as I said before, we want our vans to drive into the building. Low profile. All these real estate agents want to sell you a building you put a big sign on it. You're going, I don't want that. No signage. I'll have a number on the outside and that's it. It took a while for the real estate agents to get that through their head. And then I specified the amount of storage space we wanted. the high-span warehouse is, these industrial complexes.
What's that storage space in feet?
It's about, at a zero, so it's about 100 square metres is about 1,000 square feet.
How long does it look, Brad?
About 2 years. The building we signed the lease on a few months ago. I first saw it this time last year, and then we made an offer on the building, and as you do, it was a ridiculous offer. And the guy laughed at me and said, "Go away." And he had it on the market for another 10 months before he finally came back to me and said, "You still looking?" Which I was, and we did a deal.
You leased it or what?
We leased it.
And with 450 customers, or rather than once you kick the tires and decide to go elsewhere, has that ever been an issue that you don't own the real estate?
No, it never has.
Well, that it's leased and not owned.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that I know of. No, that's never been an issue.
I don't think
question too, but it's never been an issue.
Well, we have a 7, in this new building, a 7 plus 3 year lease, so we'll be there for 10 years. We're doing major fit out, construction, much to the owner's delight, because he gets to keep all this good work we're doing.
generally in Australia, most people lease the buildings, even recall a building, a new centre in Sydney. They are leasing, I think that's like a 10-year lease.
Yeah.
What's the name of the group that monitors all the airline traffic? The National Transportation Safety Board, is that it? NTSB, that's it. NTSB study said that if you draw a circle around every airport in the United States of America, and you go 1/4 of a mile out, that's your danger zone. Nothing else in America is any more or any less prone to an airline crash than 1/4 of a mile outside of the airport. Nothing else. So you're worrying about flight paths and things like that. Red will tell you, if you went to my building in Nashville at one time, you could see people in the windows when they were going over the building. That much. It scared the crap out of somebody. But and I read that before we took that space, and I said, okay, I'm going to trust it. And we moved from that place for now. Second thing, why are you concerned about signage on your building? Is that a deal here? Are y'all worried about a sign on your building? Do you think, for the first second, that nobody knows where you are? Is that a problem with you? You're missing an opportunity to advertise.
It shows up in a contract, you'll take the sign off.
Okay, well, Iron Mountain has IMRN. Is there any question what that is on the side of every one of their vans?
Yeah, but it's a great sales tool against Iron Mountain.
Yeah.
To have IMRN on it. Okay, what about the building?
It's one of the first questions on a client questionnaire. Do you have unmarked buildings and unmarked vans?
Yeah, well, I suppose it comes down, if the equivalent of the FBI were in there before, they didn't have a sign that said FBI on the front. That obviously to them it meant something that it was an unmarked building for what they were doing.
But I think it's down to each individual market. In our market, having unmarked buildings, unmarked vans.
That's generally a question
is the
of
norm.
sophisticated auditors.
No, I don't see what the big deal is. Okay, so they check you off. What are they worried about happening? Anybody that has any kind of smarts is going to know where you are.
Well, that's that.
And you're losing an opportunity to advertise. That's what I'm saying. Do what?
You don't want to advertise the fact. I mean,
There's pluses and minuses of it. That's
right,
the bottom line.
pluses and minuses. When you have a big customer that says, I'm not going to do business if you put your name on your building and your vehicle, you'll take it out.
Okay, then you've got your name on the
You don't
bill.
that if you're dealing with large enough customers.
It's so inconsistent, though. This whole thing is, you're really.
Do your employees wear shirt that has not
They have an ID badge.
And that's all?
That's it.
Nothing on the shirt.
Nothing.
Okay, somebody can see your ID badge. I mean, if somebody wants to know, they're going to find out. That's why I wonder why they do that. What do they read that told them, don't put your name on a van or whatever? Because I think
It's just our market.
Yeah.
it's their request.
Our,
And it's a check off.
our competitors would tell everyone, you want to go get those KPRs, that van going down the road, just build yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, I think all these things depend on each individual market. And as I've mentioned a few times already, this whole construction, security, it's very much it's a marketing issue versus what you really do need. And I was talking to Evan before about his new Vultures building, and you don't need half this stuff. Like, I didn't have security cameras in our vault originally because the risk assessor who insured our building and who inspected our facility said, you do not need security cameras for security, they're a waste of time. You only need security to pick up people slipping over deliberately and trying to see you because haven't got a handrail. I subsequently did put cameras in after we did lose an account due to someone saying, oh, your competitors have security cameras and you don't. So I put them in after that. But they're for marketing purposes only. And then Mike was telling me about someone backing into one of your employees' cars in the car park. He captured that on tape. Very handy, saving money that way. But,
Good job, Mike.
Said that the guy backed into him. I went and looked on the camera. Not only did the guy not back into him, the guy watched cars for 2 hours. And then when his boss came, he said, "Oh, this guy hit me. I need to go to the hospital. I need to go home." We had it on video that he didn't get hit and he watched cars for 2 hours. So,
It was your buddy.
our car wash guy.
next car wash.
Get a little more specific on, like the finishes that you have in your vault, for example, the flooring and the ceiling and the lighting, and gonna get to that?
Yes, I'll get on to that.
Okay.
And I did mention this is also going out to real estate agents, bank chambers, telecom exchange, substations, armed forces premises. I forgot to mention nuclear hardened facilities, but I don't think we have many of those in Sydney. I think I used Ron's vault or vaults as when I spoke to real estate agents. I said, well, what I really want is a nuclear hardened underground facility.
Yeah.
They keep making the bombs bigger.
And that was my final point when I gave this list and said, well, I know it's difficult, but I actually didn't mention what I really do want. That's right. Okay, so this is what we found. So that's the new building, and it definitely covers the first option of looking presentable from the outside. It will remain unmarked. And as I mentioned, there was a government agency in there, and this has given us a multitude of, apart from a fantastic marketing point which I'll continually use to every customer who walks in the door to tell them that ASIO were the old company in here. It has excellent physical security, and the stupid thing is we're actually increasing the security that ASIO had in there, and I haven't quite got my head around why we're doing that, but and we did the same thing with the bank when we were in there. We had a bank with good physical security, we increased the security. So our industry does get carried away sometimes.
On the ground level, those are windows, correct?
Yes, there are offices at the front, and there's actually it's a two-story concrete area inside, running down the centre. On the side there is there's like a warehouse on the side, and so the vehicles drive in down the side and access the warehouse around the back. And the vault area is underneath this. Well, it starts there and goes back, and there's offices running all the way along the top. And that's where I get my cement slab running right through the building. You'll see pictures from the other side. This was just talking a bit about the location for our 1 hour response. In Sydney, this is basically where the main customers are throughout Sydney, and we're geographically in the centre of that, so we can offer this 1 hour response. The American Express check processing building, which I really did like the security in that, was located there. So that would have been good for probably this part of Sydney, but to get out further west, or northwest, I ruled it out because we couldn't our service level is one of the main selling points we use.
Does your competition have 1 hour service as well?
One of them does.
Okay. They followed up after us. Uh-huh.
Yes. And also, obviously, we've got a factory in the main road. So also in this location, there's some main express, many freeways running north and south. This is very close to the Olympic Village. So when the Olympics were on in Sydney, that whole area the infrastructure was upgraded, roads into the area were rebuilt, and so the road infrastructure is very good. Mind you, we're currently there, we're only about, we've moved about 4 miles west.
Where's downtown Sydney?
Downtown is here. So we're 20 minutes from there to there. It's a 20-minute drive. And the other thing to consider too, because Sydney's got there's water everywhere. There's the main harbour here running right, this river running right through Sydney, and there's various rivers running across. It means you've got bridges to get, you've got to get into the downtown area in a lot of cases, and they're potential points of failure in traffic. So you need redundancy, so you need multiple access into all these main centres to avoid traffic. As you all know, my drivers are the same as yours. They get to know these amazing back streets and quick ways to get into various areas of their delivery. So freestanding and no adjoining risks. That's the airspace behind the building, and courtesy of the government, we have a very nice secured, screened off security wall here. We have another caged area off here. We haven't cleaned it up, as you can see. It will improve. Down here we have, it's not ideal, but we have an air gap between these two buildings, and we have each have our own walls. Our vault actually runs down that wall, so we actually have this whole warehouse area from a risk assessment point of view. The rear of the building also has a sprinkler system running on the back of the building, which is one thing that was nice to have.
What's that to the right there? Yes.
There's an underground car park area, so there's parking for 15 cars underneath the building too, which is also was very good.
When you get large enough, you can push the cars up, store stuff in there.
It's actually very good. The car park area would make a very nice bowl. T4 is the security standard that this ASIO used for their internal security, if you want to supply services to ASIO, you need to be T4 accredited. So this building itself is a T4 building, which means that, and historically we've never been able to win T4 business because it means you have to have a top secret clearance because our building just has never been physically structured properly. So this will enable us to go for T4 security now, which is, it's another line of business we'll be able to get. This cage here was actually, that's a T4 secured room, so we've left that there, and we'll try and win some T4 business and use that room. This area just shows the physical. There was more bars along the windows here. That's the sprinkler system running on the top. It's got some nice features. External security, once again, courtesy of the government. Sort of a door that would stop a tank down there. Steel line doors with 4 or 5 hinges. It obviously had a lot of security, it had a lot of electronic security in the building, which they've literally just ripped off the walls. Cable runs down walls, and they just chopped them off and taken just about everything off there. But you can basically work out what's been there. I think the scenario with this building was that it appealed to me because we can drive our vehicles into the building. It's the same thing what ASIO did. They had, I would imagine, surveillance vehicles, vehicles with lots of tinted windows, driving into this building and then literally plugging cables into the vans, downloading all the information and doing what they do. More on physical. This is the internal view of the building, and this is where this is looking in what will be the vault. That's this area in here. So there's my cement slab. This was a drywall along here, which we've obviously knocked down, and we're building that in a double layer of brick. So we're building the vault. I'll show you more photos. Yeah, this is the wall. What's today? This was only 2 days ago. So this brick wall that's has now been built. This is an internal wall which we're lining with Durasteel. So go and see Neil later and talk about Durasteel. I like the Durasteel, apart from it being a 4-hour fire-rated, bomb rating, impact resistant, does all sorts of good stuff. I like it because it looks good.
Just like me then.
If you understand, it's steel lined, it looks nice and shiny, looks very secure. So we're going to run that L-shaped internally in the vault, and it protects us. The reality is we have all the electrical cables coming into the building are in the room behind that, and that probably is a risky area it's probably the most risky area in our vault. So that's the main purpose of the Durasteel in reality, to protect the vault from that the potential risk of all the cabling catching on fire. But also it's going to look very nice too. We're building an airlock. This is where customers are going to come into the building. So they walk through the first door from reception into this double brick airlock, and we're going to put a bank vault door on here, and there'll be cameras and access control systems and things like that to make it give that good marketing. Looks good.
Called sizzle.
Sizzle. The sizzle. We had some windows along the front. We bricked up all the windows on the front of the building too. 4-hour fire rating. So that's the double brick wall. So it's 2 layers of brick with an air gap in the middle, and that's the Durasteel sheeting ready to go up. Just to run through, we haven't even done this yet, this is still in planning. That's basically what we're going to do with the security alarm system, access control and cameras. Pretty standard stuff. Tremor sensors, we're going to put those in the walls, in the brick walls, to stop if someone hits it with a sledgehammer and tries to get in. That'll set off the alarms also.
Morning. Morning.
Yes?
You got people on the floors above the vault. I had that same system with the vault, and every time it kind of buzzed me wanting to move a desk or carry something, my tremor sensor went off, and I got a call Saturday, Sunday. Careful.
That's a good point, because some of the doors, because it's such a secure building, the doors are really heavy. I can imagine someone slamming the door shut.
Or just the office activity above it.
Right.
Okay, I mean, somebody is going to drop an adding machine.
Yes.
Or a chair. Or
Yeah.
whatever. That will set up.
They will be my employees above, but you're right, they could. I'll know who's in the building.
Yeah, right. You got somebody guilty that you can just.
There's so many cameras in this place, I'll know what everyone's doing. The card readers, and once again, we haven't done this, but we're going to put the access into the vault. We're going to have proximity card swipe with a keypad combination to get into the vault, just for that added security I was talking to Evan about biometrics in Israel. That sounds like they need, you're going to put biometrics in your vault.
Yeah, they've got a bit over the top in Israel with security.
Yes.
Why?
You know, we haven't even bought this stuff yet, so we may well look at biometrics.
It's pretty cheap.
I think in the US it's cheap. The quote that we've got for that is $36,000 US. That's all that.
It's not bad.
That's good.
Come to Israel. It's about half the price.
I'll be talking to you later.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
The physical construction of the vault gives us actually extremely good environmentals. So we've got a concrete slab, we've got double brick wall around the whole thing. This place is not going to change temperature that much, but we're going to use our existing air conditioning system we have in our current vault, which is an Atlas computer room air conditioner, and that gives us the correct temperature and humidity. And I stress humidity because obviously like Houston, Sydney's similar, very hot, very humid at times. Got to keep those tapes happy, the right temperature. And obviously we use the weather use monitor for environmental alarms and thresholds. Dials out to us, sets alarms, sends SMS, whatever you need it to do.
That's if your internal stats go up?
Yes.
Too much humidity or...
Definitely, yes. And all that goes back to, in Australia, they call it a Securitel line, it's a monitored line, so if someone cuts the phone line, it sets the alarms off, the monitoring station that monitors alarms.
You can actually choose one of several. I think you have up to 8 or 12 different things you can have. Water detection, air movement,
Yes,
door openings. We have cameras on house,
yes.
on waves.
Yeah, there's a multitude of options there.
In fact, I can go to it and see what's going on right now.
We had an audit one time that required us to put water detectors on the floor.
Yes. What we're going to do here is we're going to drill a hole in the vault floor because it's going to be, it will probably fill up very nicely. We are going to put a drain in the floor just in case we don't fill it up.
Right.
And put some, we've got some downpipes.
Well, actually, the water detector sensors are fairly inexpensive to
Yes.
install.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal.
What about backup of that drain?
Oh,
Well, what you need to do, if you do this, you need to have a backflow
Yeah.
valve on it,
Backflow,
because you got to prevent the backup. If the sewer system backs up, there's a vault in Louisville, Kentucky, that was below ground level, and the drainage ditch that was nearby got stopped up with a big stump. And the water overflowed and came up 18 inches in the vault through the floor drain. So you need a backflow for that.
That's a good phone call to make. You know all the shit we store for you, it's actually,
That happened 18 months after I looked at it with an eye to buying the place and decided not to.
on the fire protection, pretty standard, vault fire protection. You're using Vesta from a detection system. Everyone know what Vesta is? What's coming from Vesta? We're going to use FM200 as a suppression agent. My personal belief is you don't really need you need plenty of detection, but you need an FM200 system. I believe that tapes don't burn. And we have nothing apart from the electricals which we had in the building, which we're shielding with the Duracell. I don't think you need it, but our customers probably think we need it, so you've got to spend $80,000 on the fire system.
Yeah, that goes back to the point about the marked buildings and the marked trucks. You want it.
Yes.
Did you say you don't believe tapes burn?
No. Well, you need something to ignite. You need a source for a fire.
Gotcha.
The vault has nothing in it. There's no
What about lighting?
Yeah.
lighting. We have a
fluorescent set off my FM200.
We have a detection system. I definitely want a detection system, but actual suppression system. Why do you need it?
What kind of lighting do you recommend? What does everybody use here? What's the ideal lighting?
T8, fluorescent?
Fluorescent?
That's what
What you said, fluorescent?
Let me tell you, my fluorescent light ballast went off and it cost me $32,000 for the new FM200 thing. So we put all new ballasts in, and I said, don't put incandescents in. I was told not to put incandescents. Are you the one that said, did you say you have fluorescent? Okay.
You get a sealed fluorescent. You get a sealed chamber.
Explosion proof, right? Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Why they haven't told me that?
They want about 32 grand.
Well, I'm gonna have to,
I've never heard of it.
What's everybody doing with their ceiling as far as, using a drop ceiling or just a concrete ceiling? It just depends, I guess.
We're leaving the concrete ceiling exposed.
And then you just pull fluorescence to it,
Yeah.
basically?
We did that purposely so we could show on tours that our ceiling is concrete.
Okay.
We left it bare.
I want them to see all the piping, the FM200 piping, and the Lesnar, and let's see all this good stuff. We're spending all this money on it.
I need a nice coat.
Right, it's meant
That's right.
to protect their goods, not to look pretty.
That's right.
But they like it to look pretty too.
Well,
It's got to have that,
those pipes.
the sizzle. It's got to have the sizzle.
Yeah.
Just paint it nice colors.
Yeah.
In fact, when they put what's the fire suppression in the current bulbs?
It's FM200. So
Yeah, when they put Brad's FM200 in the existing bulb, they just ran the standard galvanised pipe, and Brad got someone in to paint it bright red,
fire engine red.
so that you could highlight the fact that it was there. If you're going to spend the money, you might as well.
Green or yellow or something, so you can say, okay, this is fire suppression, this is electrical, this is soil.
That's right. Our customers are data center. People are working data centers, and this is their life.